Oh God. What a loud way to start doing that so early
Oh
in the morning.
boy!
Yucky. I'm Glenn Tickle. I'm here with my co-host Ricky Glore. I would have let you do it, but you were taking a sip. We have a guest this week. We've not done that for a bit.
Not
So
only
welcome
just
Matt
a
King to
guest,
the show.
someone neither you or I know, but Mr. Matt King is
Yeah.
opening for us, emceeing our Friday show in Minerva, Ohio at the Roxy Theater. And then the Parkside Theater, Park something theater on
Parkway.
Saturday. Parkway. And it's
Parkway.
near
In McKees
Pittsburgh, but
Rock.
what's McKees Rock. That's right. So all of the pool that Matt King has to sell them tickets. That's why we're having him on the podcast today, because he is also a daddy, a
We gotta get that
daddy-o.
Matt King bump.
He's a comedian who has loins, who has
That's true.
Don't bring new friends onto the podcast and immediately start discussing their loins, Ricky. What are you doing?
Don't call them new friends. This is merely an acquaintance, and we will judge him by the end of this.
Oh no, we were chatting before you got on.
Oh, he's friendly.
Me and Matt go way back now.
Fuck.
Yeah.
All right.
That's how
Matt,
I assert my dominance.
Welcome to the show. To just the quick icebreaker of how long have you been doing stand-up, and something that we've talked about since the beginning of this show and just in person as friends, Glenn and I. What kind of comedian do you think you are?
Don't
Impossible.
say friends. We are acquaintances at best. Ricky.
All right. So I started doing stand up about, I think I'm in my 16th month.
16th month. Congratulations, newbie.
I'm fairly new, yes.
Yeah. I like that you still measure it like a baby's age. I think that's
right. Yeah. I'm still going to do that after like 30 years.
Of comedy.
He's been doing it 16th month, but his jokes perform at like a second grade level. Like it's
exactly.
pee pee poo poo. Like he's gone beyond that.
5's in like the 98th percentile.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still going to do that when I'm like 30 years in. I'm going to be like, I've been doing this for 150 weeks or months.
Yeah. Whatever that math is. Nobody can do that.
Yeah, I don't have any idea. School is old.
No one can do 30 years times 12. No one can figure out how many months
that
is.
It's impossible. We may never know the answer.
You would win a Fields medal if you could do that math.
Fuck. Just think of like all of the poverty we could cure if we could figure out that math.
No.
You know?
So 16 months. What gave you the impetus or the bug to do it?
All right, so I was withhold your judgment, because I feel like this profession
I'll try
that I used to be a part of has a lot of cringe factor.
Okay.
People associate cringe with it. I was a youth pastor for 11 years.
Oh, no, I would never. No, I thought you were going to say something like, look, I used to, some stuff I'm not proud of. I used to deport lawfully righted immigrants who are in the United States. I used to lock kids in cages. I thought you were going to say something truly heinous, not like... Yeah.
No,
I was a pastor.
That was the whole, deporting lawfully, rightfully here citizens was a great side hustle, and I did that for a while. But
slinging witty, quick, spontaneous jokes with only 16 months in.
Yeah, so no, I was a youth pastor for 11 years, and before that, like my dad's a pastor, so he's been a pastor since I was 3 years old. So I grew up in a house where like I was in front of people a lot, and so then as a youth leader and then a youth pastor, I was on stage a lot and public speaking a lot, and I'm not the most academic person in the world. I'm not a reader. I hate reading.
Same here, brother.
Books are for
although
I
am, however, using my free 30-day trial of Audible to listen to Sam Tallent's "Running the Light."
Yeah. No, Audible.
Have you
So
read
you and I.
that?
So I don't know if you have this. Do you get sleepy while you read?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay, that's what I
My
have,
eyes,
and so I'm the
yeah,
same. Yeah, I'm the same way. And Audible books, audiobooks have
yeah,
been because I do feel incredibly stupid. Especially I'm a screenwriter, and like people, they're like, "Oh, what are some of your favorite scripts to read?" I'm like, "Oh, none of them," because I hate reading,
yeah,
and like I feel like such an idiot when I say that, but it's true. But audiobooks, I I am very specific about even the books that I listen to. I have to have a pretty vested interest in the subject already. I not that I wouldn't expand my mind on something if someone's like, "Hey,
yeah,
man, take a listen to this." Like, so like a stand-up comedy book, like something that's real fucking
yeah.
nerdy about stand-up, 100% would be like, oh, what was it? Jesse A. Fox or
Jesse David Fox,
Jesse David Fox's book.
comedy book.
Oh yeah, comedy book. It's just called Comedy Book, which is
Okay.
There's a
basically
subtitle, but I don't remember.
yeah,
what it is.
it's an expanded version of his podcast, good one. But
Oh,
it's
cool.
his kind of the most scientific way to look at stand up in the history of stand up, going back, I think,
Very
only
cool.
40 years to more contemporarily tying it into where we're at with stand
Yeah.
up now. But yeah, so yeah, you don't have stage fright. You've been
No.
in front of people for your whole
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. That's what I was starting to get at. I'm not a super academic person, but like I was pretty good at public speaking. Like in school, I didn't do great at everything, but like speeches and stuff, I always got high marks on those because I just think I'm comfortable in front of people.
Yeah.
And um, humor was always a big thing. Like even like when I would like preach sermons to the adults and like on like a Sunday morning, they would I would always tie in humor as just like an attention getting device type deal. And people told me the whole time they were like, you should do stand up. Have you ever? And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I
You're
want
like,
to, but I don't know how to
I
do
am
that.
doing stand up. Like
Yeah.
this is
Yeah,
Pretty
yeah,
similar. Like
yeah.
I know a lot. There's a lot
yeah,
of crossover with
yeah,
comedians and either current or former youth pastors.
And then it sometimes goes
yeah,
right away. It goes the other way too, where some stand-ups will become preachers on stage, and
yeah.
they pivot that the full circle almost.
I could be wrong, but I think Kinnison was a pastor first.
Yep.
Yeah, and from a pastor family,
But
but he didn't have the name
yeah,
you have,
so
Matt King. You're either
yeah,
a pastor's family or you own a used car lot, King's Auto.
yep. Well, get this. So my dad's name is Rex King,
What a name!
and
Hell yeah!
which
It's
my
just King
grandparents
King.
were hillbillies. Yeah, yes, okay. My grandparents were
yeah.
hillbillies. They didn't know that, but as Rex is Latin for king.
Yeah.
So
We just
King
talked about
King.
that on a previous episode about dinosaurs
Okay.
and like why the
Okay,
dinosaurs are named the way they were. If it's marketing, is it to make it cooler than blah blah blah. But like yeah,
Yeah.
King
The
is
dinosaurs PR guy was like, we got to make these sound cooler.
yeah.
So, but yeah, so people always told me I should do stand up, and at that point I had no idea how to find. Like I lived over in I don't know where are you guys from?
Cincinnati
Jersey.
area. I'm northern Kentucky, just right
Yeah.
across
Ricky
the river
lives
from
in
Cincinnati.
Kentucky, but he's embarrassed about it, so he always says Cincinnati.
Which that's a
I'd be
bit
more
I want to
embarrassed
work.
in Cincinnati.
I want to bring this up later in the episode since there's 3 comedians to workshop just a gestation of an idea of a premise.
Okay.
I sent it to
Very
Glenn yesterday, but it's the idea of one of the reasons I don't say I'm from Kentucky is because the barrage of stupid questions that it usually comes with. For whatever reason, Kentucky still has this stigma, but I'm like, I think Florida is in the race to take over. I think
Yeah,
if we
Florida
can
man.
work hard enough, if Kentucky could build a campaign to make Florida look dumber, I think we
Yeah.
could shed
Well,
that off.
You have the easy out too of like, well, I mean, I'm not from West Virginia. Come on.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
that is, but that's funny. That is the old like Kentucky go-to
Yeah.
joke of like, well, you can still marry your second cousin in West Virginia. We're fucking cultured here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got
So,
smart.
but
I take a dig at West Virginia sometimes, and
When
It
you're in
is,
Jersey, like Jersey is the butthole to like so many jokes
Yeah,
because of being
I
next to
have-
New York.
I have bits where I take digs at West Virginia, Florida, Pennsylvania, most of New York State, and after I do like a couple of them, like sometimes people will like like if I do the
Mhm.
West Virginia joke where it's I talk about performing at a college in West Virginia, and then the line is, "I know, I'm surprised they had them there too," and people will like, depending on how close I am to West Virginia, people will like genuinely be like, "Hey," and it's like, "Look, I'm from New Jersey, a state famous for no one making fun of it ever for any reason.
Yeah,
I
right.
think I can take a couple gentle swipes at West Virginia."
Yeah. So okay. So yeah. So I lived in Tiffin, which is up close. It's like
Yeah,
by
I've been to
Finley, if
Tiffin.
you know where Finley is. Okay. So around there, there's like no open mics or comedy clubs that I can think of other than there's like the Toledo Funny Bone.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm sure there's some bars around the colleges and stuff that do open mics and stuff, but I didn't know how to get into it. And like the one thing I had done was I had watched a Jerry Seinfeld video talking about how he got into stand up, and so that's where I got the little idea that I had about stand up, which was like get a hot five, get your good five, and do it over and over and over again. Do it at as many open mics as you possibly can, and
Mhm.
just develop that 5 minutes. And so that was like the understanding I had of comedy. So towards the end of my tenure as youth pastor, they would do this thing called this is some Christianese for you. It was called a praise gathering, which is just
Okay.
church speak for a talent show. So we would do it at Thanksgiving. They'd have like Thanksgiving dinner, like a potluck, which is wonderful. And then we would all go into the sanctuary and people would sing or they would, do whatever. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to write some stand up and I'm going to see what happens.
Wait, you
And they were
unannounced,
very,
or did you incorporate it in? Like you were going to go up there and pastor it up. You're going to pasteurize everybody, and
no,
or
that was
you
like,
just sprung it on
they're
them.
like, Pastor Matt's coming up to do some stand up. So I went
Oh,
up and I did some stand up and it went great. And they were like, that was so funny. That was so great. I'm like, I got this. So I was doing, a New Year's Eve lock in, which that's my birthday, by the way. So I
Oh,
spent
we've talked about
every one of my birthdays.
New Year's Eves are the worst time to do a show anyway, and then you add lock-in. You might have made it better because they can't go anywhere. They're not drinking. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was not better. I was networking with another youth pastor, and so we did it at his church. And so I was like, "Hey, I've been trying to do some stand up. I can do some stand up for some entertainment." He's like, "That's awesome." I'm like, "Right on." So now, when I did it in front of my church, these are all people that had known me since I was in the seventh grade,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
they
Doing a
know
different
my
church,
sense of humor.
you don't have that
Yep.
familiarity.
Yeah, they didn't know me. So I went up there, and I'm a big self-deprecation guy.
yeah.
So I go up, and I'm immediately talking about how fat I am, and like all these fat people problems and stuff. And those kids, like my kids, had already heard it, so they were just kind of
Yeah.
sitting in the back. And the kids from the other church were just such good kids. It was terrible. They were so nice. They felt horrible for me the whole time. They were watching me just mortified, and like I seriously, like I tied it into my stand-up routine to talk about it because I literally heard someone go, "Oh," and I'm like, "No, don't do that, don't." And I just
Don't you
I
pity
just
me?
Yeah.
I
had that,
died up there for like 12 minutes. And then I had like 12 hours to spend with the people I just bombed in front of
Yes, that is
That's the
awesome.
worst.
because it was
I
a
do a lot of
lot.
corporate stuff where it is like making small talk with them before and after is like a weirdly big part of it, and it is my least favorite part, especially like if the show doesn't go well and it's like, oh, I can't leave yet. I still have to I did a dinner cruise once where it's like I still have to be on this boat with these people for another 2 hours.
Two things I couldn't
Yeah.
I'm
do.
gonna swim home. This is fine.
I couldn't be
I'll be
with
alright.
those. I couldn't be sequestered with those people for that long. And two, motion sickness. Man, there's no way I can do that and be on a boat and just be nauseous. Nauseous mentally and then nauseous physically. No,
Yeah.
thank you.
Although I did.
It would
I
be
did
kind of
like
awesome if you just puked.
That's how they
I did
stay away.
the regular cruise. I did at the end of 2023. Those shows went okay. It's like they didn't seem to love me. Like I wasn't carried out of the room on their shoulders or nothing. But it's not like, oh God, those were terrible, and I got to see these people at breakfast for like 2 more days. It was like it went all right, but the dinner cruise one, it was like literally, it was a church group that hired me and 2 of my friends. But they booked it through my friend who did not give us all of the information. Like that, half of the congregation did not speak any English.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I went up first of the 3 of us, and I'm just like eating it. And I realized, I was like, all right, well, this side of the room is paying more attention, so I'm just gonna abandon you guys and just talk to the people who are clearly at least listening to me. And then I got off stage, and my friends were like, the part of the boat they were like hiding us on, like you couldn't really watch the show. So like, oh, how are they? I was like, oh, the left half could not care less that anything's going on. Just play to the right. And then my friend's like, that's probably the side that doesn't speak English. And it's like, I'm sorry, the side that what? And he's like, oh yeah, did I not tell you guys? I was like, I would have remembered. I mean, I would have done it, but no.
And you're also like, why are they weirdly segregating? Just like
yeah,
at a dance, like a dance in the South. Like, we need to make sure we keep these people separate from these people.
Yeah.
Well,
And,
I love your story, Matt, because that is the classic, like, you go up there first time, destroy in whatever perception of your mind of what it destroying is that first time. It can go way better than you expect. It could actually have gone really, really well, or you just perceive it as going well. And then you go up excited, like ready to take another bite at the apple that second time. And it's like, it's like, this is the percentages when you're starting off, or even X amount of years into it. It might be a 50-50. If you're batting 500, like, you're not doing bad.
So I bombed so hard that the other youth pastor came up to I'm like, all right, let's hear it for Pastor Ryan.
Like, can we unlock the doors and get him out of here?
Yeah. It was worse than that. Like, he comes up and he's like looks at me kind of knowingly, and he's like, I thought it was funny, dude. I'm like, oh, yeah. So after that, that was 2019. I didn't touch stand-up for like 3 years.
Well, I mean, COVID helped you. Like, because you were only like 2 shows in, you weren't going to be doing the Zoom. I mean, you weren't going to be doing the Zoom shows or
no.
Yeah, like waiting for the doors to open for shit to get soft, or like all the drive-in shows or the redunculous shows of COVID.
Yeah. So luckily I missed that, but my I stepped down from youth ministry. I moved across the state of Ohio to where I am now, so I could be closer to my wife's family. Then that all fell apart. I got divorced. I wrecked a motorcycle. That was cool.
No.
And
I'm giggling.
I was laid
I don't
up.
know what else to do, but none of this.
Yeah.
I'm not like, oh, great.
Oh, I'm thinking. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is ripe for comedy. This is tracking. Yeah,
it is. So I was like off work for months. I shattered my wrist, tore my rotator cuff, all kinds of good stuff, and I was just really depressed. And I was thinking about, I wanted to try stand up because I knew there were some comedy clubs near me. And so I was
what
like,
a thing that could have easily backfired. I was really depressed. So you know what I decided to do? Stand up. Like, I'd have been like, I don't know if that's a good choice, buddy.
Well, I missed the first open mic that I signed up for. It was like a contest. Mm-hmm. I was like, I'm not going to win. I just want to get on stage and try it out and see how it goes in front of a neutral crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I wrecked that motorcycle and was on a bunch of painkillers and couldn't drive, so I missed that. So I went back home for the praise gathering where it all started,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Oh
did
yeah,
my
go back to the well. Yeah.
my updated material and I was still doing too long. I was doing like 13 minutes of stuff, so there was a lot of like bad segues and uhs and stuff like that.
Sure.
But it went well, so I got my confidence back up, and I went and I found the closest open mic I could find, which was in Akron at a
Oh yeah.
restaurant, restaurant bar type
Oh, what
thing.
was it? Do you remember the name?
And
Restaurant,
yeah,
bar,
I still go
strip club.
sometimes.
If I
It's called the Daily Press. It's right across from the Akron Rubber Duck Stadium.
Okay.
Casey Curry runs it. I love Casey. She's great. And
I wish I remembered
so
the
I went
venue
in
that I
there.
did in Akron, but it genuinely felt like it was literally surrounded by strip clubs, and I was like, "Is this just all you guys
That's
have here?"
Akron.
They're like, "No, we got tire stuff too." It's like, "Oh, okay."
Yep. Tire shops
And we also
strip
had that
clubs.
place called Tires and Tits. Like it's got
there
them
was
both.
like three. If you stood in front of this, it was a music venue because it was opening for some friends in a band. And like if you stood in front of that venue, you could like literally see 3 or 4 strip clubs like from that parking lot. And it's like
That does not surprise me.
Yeah. That's
side
pretty much
note,
been my entire Akron experience.
Akron is where the Black Keys came from. So thank you, Akron, for that contribution. But yeah, so I went up there and I was kind of talking to some of the other like comedians, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I've been a youth pastor for a long time. I've tried this a couple times. I'm going to see how it goes. And I had like I was very paranoid. So I had gone through my material, but I took it down to 5 minutes because I knew that's how long I was going to get. And I just went over it.
Mm-hmm.
And I went up and it went really well. So I was like, cool. And I was signed up for another open mic at Crackpots, which is, who's putting on the shows this weekend. I went up there and it went well there too. And then I went and did that contest that I had originally signed up for, and I got passed through to the finals in that. And I lost to my friend in the finals of that. But I was like, at that point, I was like 3 weeks in. I'm like, I made it to the finals at 3 weeks.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So, and then it was just like slowly just hitting as many open mics as I could, developing that 5 minutes like Jerry told me to. And
Glenn's pal and mine, Jerry Seinfeld.
Literally biting my lip to not be like
and
that guy.
and then just it kind of went from there. People at my church over here found out that I was doing stand up, and they were like, hey, we do this ladies night thing. It would be cool. We've been trying to find a Christian comedian. Yeah.
So do you skew 100% clean, or do you not do you 100% clean?
Yeah.
So you can perform anywhere.
And I do churches and stuff when I can, and I'm probably going to do more of that too, just to try and fill up my schedule and stuff.
Sure.
And I like kind of the balance of doing both. I like to try to build my stock in the secular world, so that it makes more sense for churches to want me to come, because people would know, oh, he's been doing this, so they did this ladies' night out thing, and this was in March. They're like, how long can you do? And at the time, I think I had written 15 minutes that I had actually been putting through the open mics, different 5 minutes, a few different times. Yeah. And I was like, I could probably do a half hour. So I didn't have a half hour worth of material, but I had a couple months. So I was like,
man,
I got it.
Everybody makes this mistake, man. Like everything you're saying, I'm like if a bell were to ding, it's like, yep, this, like not necessarily the mistakes, but like just the growth that you do and the different experiences.
So when I teach,
that's why I backed off on the mistake thing of just like the growth or the experiences.
So I like inherited a slide deck from my friend Ryan Hill, who taught the class before me. And I went through, there's like a lot of stuff in there that's like, oh, I disagree with this. I'm not going to tell people this is wrong. And then I would like email him. I was like, hey, here's why you're wrong about this. And some of it he's like, that's actually a good point, and then others is just like, no, Glenn, you're wrong. But
or there's multiple ways to approach it and look at it.
So I left a lot of this stuff that he would say in the slides, but then I would put like my rebuttal because he was a guy. Brian Hill used to perform, hasn't for years, but then like worked as a comedy producer at a venue for years and years. So like he's just coming at it from a different angle. But he would say, he's like, don't agree to do a 30-minute set if you don't have 30 minutes. And I was like, well, I mean, you're only going to get better by growing. Like,
right.
if you're close, like, yeah, you got time, set yourself a little goal and, try to write some more material. It's not like,
or and if you're prepared like you are, Matt, and you're comfortable in front of people, put a little areas in your set list as your bullet pointing out, or however you write it in squares or however, but then put like little parentheses of like maybe explore the end of this idea or mention just a subject matter that you've been working on that you don't have fully fleshed out. Like pad it in there within. If you have 20, 25, I think you should try for 30 if given the opportunity, where you won't either deep six a show or like,
right. If you've only ever done a 10-minute set and somebody asks you to do 30 minutes tomorrow night,
no thank you.
Say no.
No.
Yes.
But like I'm doing a thing I can't announce at the end of the year where it's like, oh yeah, let me pitch you an hour show. And it's definitely done. It's all, oh yeah, for sure. I've definitely got the whole thing put together.
Real good, yeah.
But it's like, well, no, like that's gonna be in September, I think. And it's like, yeah, no, by September it'll be done. That's so much time between now and then. But having that date is like, well, now I have to like finish this and put it all together.
Yep, and that's kind of how I am too. Like I do my best work under pressure of like, I have to get this done.
Yeah.
Like I was the kid in school that they give you a month to do a project and I'm like, I'll get it the night before.
Yeah.
Like, and I would usually get a pretty good grade on it, but like,
so you were rewarded for your procrastination. Yeah. Same here.
Yeah.
Same.
Exactly.
We're the same.
So I worked towards it and I did a half an hour. And let me tell you something. I don't know if you guys have ever done like a ladies' night out event, but that is the greatest.
I'm going to need you to,
audience.
So some of the things you were saying, I'm going to need you to describe what your experience with what a ladies' night out was, because in my mind, when I hear ladies' night out, I think of like Tupperware parties, but it's sex toys. I don't think of it like I think you experienced.
At the church.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's so. You tell us what your ladies' night out was, because I think it's very different in our world.
It was all women, and they paid admission, but they gave away like door prizes. So there was like hanging flower baskets and like, like I don't know, Instant Pots and stuff like that,
Woo!
And they
out.
catered it. Yeah, they catered it with a Mexican restaurant nearby.
Oh hell yeah!
And so there was like 132 ladies, I think, and I'm like,
and they were
this is different than open mics. And yeah, so they had the kids and their husbands all at home, so like they're there for fun. So it was like the greatest audience I could have asked for, because they were just like,
and we've talked about this before. The theory that stand up and comedy, especially out live, is very much you want to have the females on the side when you're performing, and so you having a room of complete females who are just like, we chose to be here. This is our night out. We got excited about a door prize being a hanging potted plant. We're the bar's real low for like, give us some entertainment.
Yep.
But it's funny that they didn't hire a female comedian. That they're like, one man's allowed in here, and it's Matt King.
Yep. And I'll tell you what, like they loved it, and they were great. And they were there to have fun, and it was a great experience. And they just said they were going to hire me. They didn't say how much. So like I've always been a logo guy. like
Mhm.
always. So immediately I had like merch stickers and stuff. I sold a bunch of stickers and like then they gave me a check and I didn't look at it till I left. It was $500 and I was like, I've made it.
Nice.
I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've made it. So
I remember my first
and
weekend at the Funny Bone, like getting that check. I was just like, I was paid $50 a show and I was doing 10 minutes. Like I got paid $50 for 10 minutes. Like that, the math of that, I was just like,
You
Yeah.
started
'Cause I'd worked at-
extrapolating it out, and you're like, I'm making $400,000 a year. This is incredible.
Yeah.
Well, I started because I had started working at Kroger's when I was 12. I had started umpiring when I was 10. I worked at Dairy Queen after Kroger's, Long John's. Like I worked tougher jobs in like serving and stuff where I made more money and getting tips. Like I worked a 12-hour serving job at La Rosa's pizza place in Northern Kentucky, and I made $100 for a double shift. And I was just like, I'm the richest man ever. But then when I did my first weekend where I got $300 for the weekend, $50 a show,
Woo.
I was
Yeah.
like, and I got free food and like 2 free drinks a show, and I didn't even drink. I was just like, this is bananas that like I've worked so much harder for so much less.
It is weird
Yeah.
to think that like the things that I've been paid the most for have literally been like, hey, can you just stand there and talk about yourself for a little bit? It's like, sure.
Yeah. But talk
Whereas
about the
I-
audience of
Yeah.
like the women. Like I think Glenn can attest to this. Dry Bar, that was one of the things in front of that audience. I was a little apprehensive at first. I was just like, oh, no drinks. Like it's fun to like loosen up or whatever. But that audience, in my experience, was literally there just to have a good time and not like
Yeah.
comedy club audiences where there's sometimes the dudes are just like, make me laugh, funny
Yep.
man.
Yep. And that's I've done an all men's event before too. And I pride myself on the fact that it went well,
right.
but it was nothing compared to like the men. I feel like men almost feel threatened when
If I had to
and you could be
pick-
a victim of your intro where they go up there and like, this guy's hilarious. And they're
Yeah.
like, we'll see.
We'll see.
It's hilarious. It is weird because like,
Go
you'll
ahead.
see it like in clubs too, where if like guys are on dates, like sometimes the guy will like turn on the comic if like
Mhm.
their girlfriend is laughing too hard because they feel threatened.
Yeah.
And it's like, guys,
And they don't get
Yep.
it. It's the perfect
grow up.
aphrodisiac.
it's so dumb.
Like it's so great. They
anytime-
should use that to their benefit of just like, my lady's so happy. She's having such a good time. She's going to connect that like, I am part of this. Like it is mine to screw up for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
ones who get like, I don't know why he's so funny.
Anytime I come across any account online that's like, here's how you be like a real man, it's like, just worry about being a good person, dummy.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
just
Yeah.
Just
listen.
be
I
nice
feel
to
like-
people. It's
I
so
feel like
dumb.
those guys are the same guys that like watch Jackass with their friends and were like, I've done that before.
Yeah,
That's not too crazy. I could do
doesn't
that.
really hurt. That doesn't hurt that bad. I could do
That's
that.
a funny
Yeah.
premise too, Matt. I don't think I've ever thought about watching Jackass, not like Funniest Home Videos, and just thinking like, well, this is torture porn comedy, like of just seeing people do dumb things and get hurt, and it's not me, and it's it's the Mel Brooks thing of like, I get you fall down a manhole, that's comedy. I get a hangnail, and that's tragedy. I've never thought of
Yeah.
watching Jackass the way that you just presented. Like there are, I'm sure, some dudes, because those are the same dudes that watch pro football and they're just like, yeah, that's how I used to play back in 82 as well. Yeah, you play real hard.
I was gonna go pro, but I didn't have a good agent, and yeah. So you get some of that bravado sometimes from the male audience, I think too. But
Our previous episode, we brought up, because Glenn and I both have dry bar specials. We both can work completely clean, but we
Mhm.
I'll speak for myself. I don't like being, the Daddy-O Tour is not being marketed as a completely clean night of comedy. We're going to be naughty boys compared to you on Friday and Saturday.
sure.
We're going to be bad little boys. Bad little daddy-os.
Make it sound grosser this way.
What? Why?
You make I
Like tiny?
Ooh, we're gonna be like little dirty scants.
Like petite little daddy-os?
And
La
just to
petite
be
daddy-o?
clear, it came up. We talked about it a lot last week, and I've been trying to figure this out online. I'm like, why am I uncomfortable being marketed as a clean comedian, even though I am? Like,
for the most part.
even at my dirt, like I did a cruise, and they're like, we need 2 different sets. You need a clean set and a dirty set. And I was like, okay, but I mean, even at my dirtiest, like I might casually swear in the middle of some otherwise clean jokes. And they're like,
you wanna
we're more
pitch-
concerned that the clean set is clean than the dirty set is dirty.
It's
We don't
dirty,
think
yeah.
it's-
Can you do you want to tell the dirty joke that you sent me the other day, or do you want to keep that private?
No, I'll do it. So I will frequently, like, I still think of jokes where it's like, well, I'm not going to do that one on stage, right? Because that one's
doesn't fit my
Right.
voice, or
it doesn't. Yeah, and I talk so much about like my kids. It's like, well, I'm not going to do like. Here's a cute story about my beautiful 6-year-old who I love so much. Now here's a story of me like railing some broad. Like it doesn't like that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
And I would rather talk
Right.
about my kids. But I thought of a dirty joke the other day, so I texted it to Ricky. I was like, I wouldn't do this on stage, but I think like the math of this joke is pretty good. And it's so for Mother's Day, my wife likes to garden, so my daughters and I got her this like outdoor bench that you can like use as a little table, but you can also flip it over and you can use it, and it makes it more comfortable to like kneel down on the ground for a long time. And we gave it to my
Okay.
wife, and she's like, "Oh, this is great. I can use it in the garden." I was like, "I mean, you could, but won't the neighbors see?" And it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't.
fill in
I
the
don't
blanks.
Yeah, I
love
see what you
how
mean.
doing that joke makes me feel. But it's fun.
Yeah.
Like I think it's a funny joke.
But there's
Um,
nothing. There's
yeah.
nothing that like you wouldn't tell that joke not because of the innuendo and what it insinuates. You don't tell it because it doesn't fit your voice and what
Yeah,
like
it's
what
not,
you're.
I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, I would never acknowledge that my wife and I do things to each other. It's just like, yeah, I don't know. It feels weird.
Yeah,
But also
I
like
think-
you talked about last week, you're like, oh, your wife is fine with you talking about her. She just doesn't ever want you to call her a bitch. And I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel like if I went up and started like doing jokes about getting blown, she'd be like, could you maybe not? And I'm like,
Yeah.
fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that goes to the whole thing of like branding too. You know, like what
Yeah.
Ricky's saying. Like it doesn't fit your brand exactly. Because you have something so far outside of what you talk about normally. It might not, even if it's hilarious, might not be received the same way coming from you because people have an expectation of what like your whole set's been like.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I have jokes specifically that are like built around challenging that idea where like I talk about, it's like, oh, like I have, this reputation as a clean comic, and that's fine. But like, people think I'm a good dad. That's a good reputation to have, but I think it detracts from what I really want to be known for, which is my enormous hog. And like that joke to me is like, it's a little dirty, but it is like playing on the idea that like, I don't want to just be a clean comedian. I want, I
Sure.
forget who it was. I think it was on the Hot Breath podcast. Joel Byers was interviewing somebody, and they mentioned, they're like, oh, I love it when after a show, an audience member will come up to me and they'll be like, oh, thank you so much for being clean. And I was like, I would be a little annoyed, honestly.
Mhm.
And it's happened where they're like, oh, it's so good that you were clean. I was like, can you say I was funny first at least? Like,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
we'll get to clean. Like that's the goal, is I want to be a funny, good comedian.
Yep.
If I happen to be clean, great. But I think,
Yeah, there's a stigma
yeah.
when people hear clean. It's the same thing with like.
But
I've
I think
been
that
billed
stigma
on
goes.
shows as-
I think that stigma goes both ways, though. And to Glenn's point, is that the person was
Sure.
so on guard that they heard comedy and they're just like, "I'm going to be offended because they talk about things that don't fit what I'm comfortable hearing out loud." So
Right.
there's that stigma too. But you're right. There's the stigma of like, oh, clean. That means not funny. But also some douchebags say that for women comedians. They're like, oh, a female comedian. Oh, yeah, I don't know why she'd get up on stage and prove to me for 10 minutes that females aren't funny.
Yeah, and that like a lot of times I don't even mention that I'm clean. Like the best compliment I ever got was after a show. A guy who had seen me several times. He came up. He goes, "Hey, I never realized you were clean," and I was like, "Thank you, dude."
See, that I like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That,
So because that
There's more.
Yeah, I don't-
There's
I
more
don't-
being said there.
Yeah, when it's
I
like
don't generally
oh,
bill myself. Yeah.
But you're not. So like
Yeah.
if you're typically doing besides the open mic that you're doing in the restaurant bar whatever, you're doing church shows of like that's where you're trying to go onto. So there is kind of this wink and a nod and like a handshake of just being like, well, yeah, obviously you don't have to market yourself as that. But if you were to leave those pearly white gates of the church and go and do theaters or clubs or whatever, you probably at that point would decide to add that moniker to your name because of the audience that it brings. That sorry, I guess I
Yeah,
should say
perhaps.
that's the question that like Glenn and I had. We were just like, would it be more beneficial financially or a successful tour if we just really doubled down on saying the Daddy-O tour and it's dry bar clean or whatever, and people that know
I
that
do
are like,
think
oh,
if a
but we're not
venue
clean
came
on the
back,
podcast.
Yeah, if a venue came back and was like, "Hey, you guys
Can
want
we
the
do
dry bar special? Can we sell this as a clean show? We think it'll move more tickets."
100%.
I would be like, "Yeah, go ahead." But
Yep.
I didn't want to be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we're doing a whole super clean tour," because again, I will probably be I don't have a set list locked in or anything for this weekend, but it's like, I'm gonna be pretty clean, you know. I might
Yeah.
slip up here and there, but I've also done shows where it's like I know I've sworn on stage and people will still be like, "Oh, you were so clean." It's like, well, no, I said shit 3 times, but it isn't like a
But that
dirty
isn't.
story.
Yeah.
It is just like, oh,
Right.
all right. So I was like getting all this shit out of my car, and like that. I think most people know nothing bad will happen if they hear an adult man say a bad word on stage.
Sure.
But I think what we landed on last week was like, I think people who are seeking out clean comedy are seeking out comfortable comedy, right? They don't want anything that is going to be like too challenging or like possibly upsetting. And I mean, there's that website where you can like look up if a dog dies in a movie before you go see the movie, because like
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
people just don't want to watch a movie where a dog dies. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. I get it. My dog died a couple years ago. If I watch a movie where a dog dies, I'm going to get real sad and it's going to like take me out of it. And I'm not saying that as like, oh, these cowards don't want any of my cool, edgy, challenging comedy. But I think that's true of some comedians as well, is like, well, they're doing it to avoid having to do challenging material. Where like,
Sure.
I don't bring up politics a lot on stage, mainly because it makes me uncomfortable. Like, I don't like talking about it with strangers, but I talk about it a lot online. So like, if you find me on Instagram and then you don't like that I made a joke about RFK, and it's like, well, you don't have to follow me on Instagram, bud. Like, that's a decision you made.
Sure.
You're free to unfollow me. But if I get booked on a show in a city I've never been in, I'm not going to roll up and be like, "Who'd you idiots vote for? Listen, dummies, I'm going to tell you how it is." Like, that's my least favorite kind of comedy.
yeah, the Glenn man's gonna come in and tell you how it is. With
My
his
least
comedy.
favorite kind of comedy is smug guy telling everyone how right he is about something.
Well, and you're
it's like,
constantly fighting on stage to be like, look, I know how I look and how I sound, that I am smug, but let you
Yeah,
get to know me
that's
first
just-
and then
that's just
decide
built in.
that, yeah.
Yeah. I made the decision early. I was like, I'm not touching politics because it's like being an ump. It's like half the people are going to hate you regardless
Yeah.
of what you say, because people are so dug in on either side. But I struggled for a long time because I've never had a good president impression until like years after they were out of office.
Oh,
And then-
voice
I got a
impression?
good Warren G. Harding.
Yeah.
Useless,
And-
you know?
And I was like, man, I kind of got good at Trump. And I'm like, I don't know how this is going to go. But I figured out that if you just do an impression of Trump without saying anything like actually political, the people that like him are like, yeah, it is pretty funny. And the people that hate him are like, yeah, what an idiot. So like I could work in a Trump impression as long as I just keep it to like I have this joke about like I've lost some weight, but like, and my body doesn't even know that it's gone because there's so much more there. And it's kind of like when Trump got fined all that money and he was like, frankly, I don't really care. There's actually a lot more where that came from.
That's
You
a
can
good
stand to
impression.
lose a few more
That is
pounds,
genuinely
Scotty.
a solid
I
impression,
was.
bud.
That's way better than my. That's like a Rich Little like shit. Like
I'm
where you
always
sound
skeptical
like
when
him.
people tell me they have a good impression, and it's like, do you? Look
My
at
Trump
Yeah.
good.
and my Trump impression's not good. It's just it's sometimes if you can sell like just the character that you're imbibing, like a Will Forte
Yeah.
doing George W. Bush wasn't Will Ferrell doing George W. Bush, but also Will Ferrell's George W.
Right.
Bush wasn't like Rich Little doing like makeup and playing him in a biography movie.
Yeah.
Your impression
Yeah.
sounded pretty spot on.
Well,
I don't think the
started
mic
doing
did
that
you
on.
any favors, but I think in person it would really translate well.
I started doing that on TikTok Live because there was a gift that people could send you called the popular vote. So I was like, all right, you win the popular vote, you got to gloat. So they would start sending me the popular vote, and I would just kind of start like riffing as Trump. I'd be like, we did it again. A lot of people said we couldn't do it, but I do it all the time. I'm always winning the popular vote. And like, so I was getting people to send
That's
me
good.
gifts all the time. It's
I'm
fun,
looking it
but
up,
I found out
on
that
TikTok now.
I might
people don't mind that because, like I said, the people that like him are like,
my impression. A lot of people.
Yeah, you gotta put the
the
get the
accordion,
hands going.
I don't have.
Yeah,
or it's like you're doing catch cradle, like you're doing yarn like stuff. And the catch in the cradle with a silver spoon.
and
that's
why is the cat in the cradle? We don't. In Springfield, they've been putting cats in cradles.
They're putting cats in cradles. That's hilarious. Trump talks through dumb. Oh, that's yeah.
Well, because Ricky does a thing where he does like all the presidents. It's all the presidents in your lifetime reading a bedtime story.
It's retired if unless like a venue kind of requests it, or unless like I get booked solely off if they're like, oh, we booked you because your dry bar impressions, whatever. It's one potato, two potato, but it's all the presidents in my lifetime. And now that Trump's back again, I can still make my joke at the end, which is this bit's retired unless specifically asked for. Is I don't have a Biden impression because I don't believe in elder abuse. And then I go into this whole thing that makes it part because what you just said for the same reason, like people were like, yeah. And I'm like, no, just so you know, like my political stance is I think we should stop electing old white grandpas as president. And because I'm just like, because that's honestly like where I'm at.
I tried to do one when after Biden got elected, where it's like if I'm performing in like a really red area, I feel like I read pretty obviously as like a leftist dork. So if I roll up somewhere, they're gonna like clock me immediately. So I tried for a while opening with like, guys, just so you know, like I don't like Joe Biden either. Like we don't have to get into why. Just know like we can start from a place of agreement.
Like, can't we be unified in that these old white like men are just like
that would get the wrong kind of like the thing where Dave Chappelle would talk about like why he left Chappelle's show. He's like it was getting the wrong kind of laugh, and it's like I don't like the way in which you guys are agreeing with this. But it's like well I don't like because he's not doing the metric system and making trains go faster. Like that's what I expected out of him. And they're like, eat babies or whatever dumb bullshit.
Yeah, that's the thing with a lot of the political stuff is sometimes it's just cheap laughs anyway, or like low hanging fruit, you know.
And on both sides, like you can play to an audience that agrees with you and just get them to like, you know, I don't love the term clapter, but like it's pretty easy to elicit if I'm like doing shows in New York and I was like, RFK sucks, right? But that I'm using him as the example because like that is the political bit I have right now is I talk about RFK because I'm tomorrow morning, first of 2 official screenings for an autism diagnosis. And he keeps talking about autism. So I was like, well, I was going to wait until I get an official diagnosis to like really talk about it. Because, you know, I don't want to find out I'm wrong. And then I've just been saying all this stuff for like a group of people I'm not actually a part of. But the joke is like, well, if he's going to keep talking about it, then so am I. And then I don't even have a good bit about it. I end up just yelling at RFK who's not in the room. But it's like, well, yeah, like if of all the things that are wrong with me, that's like the last thing. Like if I had to do a list of stuff I would love cured, it's so far down the list. Like I've got an autoimmune disease, my eyes suck. Like take care of any of this first, please. But
Sure.
that is
Yeah.
like, well, yeah, I mean, it is political, but I think he is such a cartoonish buffoon that like even I think most Republicans are like, all right, I mean, I don't know about that guy. Like,
But he gets by with so much. I mean, because I've stepped
the
away
Kennedy,
pretty
it's
hard.
like, oh, must
He
be
gets by with the
brilliant.
Kennedy
He's
thing.
swimming around in poop water over the weekend. He sucks.
Yeah.
I hate that guy.
And it's also like, if you go back to the history of the Kennedys, I mean, he is the evolved version of that, of like the hillbilly, like moonshiners. And like it's, yeah. But it's so with what you are going for of doing more church gigs, is there any times at the bars where you're working your stuff and the open mic that you feel get sometimes a bigger reaction because you are changing the flavor of like the people who are on the open mic list, especially at like a bar, who are like cursing or being dirty or dude bros or whatever, and then you go up and it's like, do you feel like it's a more uphill battle for you, or do you think it's a nice change of flavor for the people that are listening?
That's something that I pride myself on. Like I've heard people say one time there was a comedian coming in, like, I don't know if you want to be on that show because this is going to be a raunchy. I'm like, put me on. I'm like, stage time is stage time. If it doesn't go well, it
Yeah.
doesn't go well. But it was received well because I think I do clean in a way that it doesn't seem necessarily clean. Because like I said, I make fun of myself a lot. I talk about being divorced and like stuff like that, to where it's not. I think there's that preconceived notion of like clean comedy. He's going to come in here and he's going to be all like, "Hey guys, so the other day I was reading my devotional and I just found the funniest thing in the book of Jeremiah." Yeah, you know what I mean?
I don't
But-
like the gentility of your presentation.
Right. So like I said, I want to do more churches. I've only done a few, and most of my comedy has been in clubs or bars and stuff like that, and I like that. Now, the funny thing is, with speaking to the preconceived notion, I did a show on Friday at Crackpots and a show on Saturday at Crackpots one weekend. One was just a regular show. Everyone was shaking my hand. They were like, I think I featured that night. They were shaking my hand. They were like, great job. That was so funny. I love that and all that stuff. Then the same guy walks over to a poster that says Clean Christian Comedy. That was the next night. He goes, I'm not going to be at that. That ain't me. And I was like, my name is right there. And like, you just told me how great it was. But they just have that, you know what I mean? So like a lot of
Could
times
be the idea of like, oh, what he gave us tonight was Matt King unhinged. Tomorrow night, he's going to be really pandering towards the tithing people.
Same exact set.
Yeah.
Well,
Dude,
Comedy
in a row.
Dynamic, did a deal with Dry Bar a couple years ago where they re-released a bunch of Dry Bar stuff just
Okay.
as separate albums. And I'm like genuinely curious to see like I don't get like that data, but it's like if people listen to my Dry Bar set without knowing it is Dry Bar, are they gonna experience it differently? Because some of the jokes are just like kind of updated versions of stuff I did on my first album, which was clean, but again, not on purpose, just kind of happened to be. And some of them like do kind of on purpose. It's like, well, let's see how close I can get to what Dry Bar will let me say before they cut the joke. Because to me, that's like part of the fun of doing something under such strong restriction is like, all right, these are the limitations I have to work in. How close can I get to getting in trouble? And again, like the two jokes I was really concerned about, I asked them before the show and they're like, oh, that is do it, but you do 2 shows, and they're like, if the audience doesn't react well on the first show, maybe don't do it on the second one because it means we'll probably have to cut it out. But the audience, I did it on both, and the audiences liked them, and it's like, I think they liked it more because like they're funny jokes when I'm not forced to work clean. But I think the fact that they know I'm under this restriction, they are, that audience is the ones responsible for that restriction being in place. So it's like, oh, you almost said something we don't like, and they get like kind of into it more. But then if it's just a regular audience that's, that doesn't know I think I do acknowledge once in the set that I have to work clean. But it's like, yeah, if you don't know that, the jokes still work. It's still like, my sister was in the Army and was Private Tickle. It's like, well, yeah, that's a silly thing to have to be called by like, the guy from Full Metal Jacket screaming in your face would be like, yeah, that would be funny if that guy was yelling Private Tickle a bunch of times. And it sounds like you shouldn't say it on Dry Bar, but like it doesn't mean anything. So it's like, oh, I point out, it's like, feels like I shouldn't get to say that, right? And they're like, it does, but you're right. We don't know they don't all agree on what that would describe. I'm sure there's like a rough idea, but it's like, I don't know. It is more fun to work, or maybe not fun, but like working under restrictions is fine. Like the comics that I know who like really rail against clean comedy, they're like, oh, I don't want to like have to. Pete Holmes, we talked about last week, flirted with the idea of doing like a PG-13 tour because he's like, well, I don't ever want to be super clean. He did one show and he's like, feel like I'm playing in handcuffs. Like it's just not for me. And it's like, grow up. Like, what do you can't talk for an hour without talking about balls or whatever. And it's like, just, I don't know.
Clinically, I have been diagnosed as a man that cannot speak for half an hour without talking about balls. Thank you for bringing up my affliction, Glenn Tickle.
But working under constraints, like, is fine.
Yeah, that's why some of the funniest television or the funniest things have come out of television is because sometimes there's so many SNL like stories with the censors where I think Dana Carvey talks about with Church Lady that because the first time they wrote it, they were so hardcore about because the sketch involving church, they were way more particular with the words they could use. So then Dana Carvey and the other writers were just like, well, okay, well, let's come up with ridiculous versions, nonsensical versions of those words that actually sound dirtier because no one knows what they mean, but we all know what they mean. Like, so yeah, I'm a big proponent of
Patton Oswalt goof juice joke.
Yes.
I forget the exact line, but it's like, oh, if you like try to hide it, you end up sounding way more disgusting.
Yeah.
But that's I've been talking about clean comedy a lot online, particularly on Threads, and a lot of people will like cite examples of clean comedians that they like, and a lot of them are just older comics, and it's like they're not exclusively clean. You just only ever watch them on network TV. Like, people be like, "Oh, Steve Martin's clean." No, he's not. Listen to Let's Get Small. The title of the thing is a drug reference. There's a 10-minute bit about drug use. He swears a couple of times. It's not a clean album by like Dry Bar or probably really anybody's standards.
But it's degrees.
But you watch him on the Tonight Show.
But it's also not the seven words you can't say on television, right? It's not Pryor. It's not Carlin. Or even say, like, even if you go more down the line of like Kennison, like where there are people who like saw Kennison on the Tonight Show, and it's like, yeah, he can work on television, and he was able to figure out how to do it. Like Robin Williams, you watch some of his stand up, and it's the exact same thing: drug references, being dirty, just talking about certain things. But I would venture to say most people, if you ask them, was Robin Williams a clean comedian, they would say yes.
Yeah, because they're thinking of Mrs. Doubtfire and not
and Jeannie,
and that's like a lot of the examples of people are like, oh, Steve Martin stuck out because he's like the person I cite as my all-time favorite comic. So when people are like, he was always clean, no, he wasn't. You're just thinking of TV appearances and like G-rated family films
and Saturday Night Live, like where it was like a little taboo.
It's like you had to be clean on television. You still kind of
Yeah.
do in most cases, which is why when comics, like, you should at least be able to work clean for a bit, you know? Like,
Yeah.
I don't think there's virtue in doing it exclusively, but it's a skill that you should have, because if you get asked
Sure.
to do the Tonight Show tomorrow, there's going to be 5 clean
Yeah.
minutes because you're
Well,
going on television.
What we talked about, we got down to is the authenticity of it. So, Matt, from what I've witnessed, you've not said a curse word this whole time, I believe. I don't think that's you filtering yourself of being like, don't say a curse word. Don't. It seems like you are authentically you, or as close as you can be an exaggerated version on stage, and that's how you approach your comedy. So it is authentic, and if you
Right.
are able to do that, I think you've made a very large leap in finding your voice a lot sooner than a lot of
Mhm.
people have. And that also doesn't mean, like how we get into issues with politicians, that you could also evolve. Not evolve because
Yeah.
you are devolved, right? Like not evolved right now, but you could change into how you do comedy. But right now, I think you've probably recognized, well, this is who I am. This is how I think about comedy.
Yeah.
And it might not involve this, this, and this. And that makes it clean, but I'm kind of just being me.
Yeah.
That was Brian
Yeah. That's
Atkinson's point. I
Yeah.
don't know if you've worked with him at all, but
No.
he's like a radio guy. So he's like, I don't know. I
Mhm.
spent years on the radio having to not swear to be compliant with FCC regulations. So now it's like, that's just kind of how I talk. Like, it wouldn't be authentic if I went up and was particularly filthy.
And just saying balls.
Yeah.
Just
Just say
balls.
balls, Brian. Brian, just say balls one
That's-
time. Do it.
Let's
Brian.
be ball bros.
Brian Atkinson, say balls. Brian, come on, Daddy, and say balls
Yeah.
4 times in a row.
Not fine.
No,
You
it's
can't.
it's like you said, you know, it's who I am, so I think it translates. And honestly, if you think, and I do agree, everyone should have like some clean material because of the opportunities that are available if you do.
You make way more
And
money. It's the
to the
only
point
reason to
of
do
like,
this.
yeah,
For
to the
money,
point
right?
of the bars and the open mics and stuff. I do think sometimes it's a breath of fresh air because I think at any open mic, you have a guy who's edgy who has no business being edgy. And so
Mhm.
he's just like going up there
That's
and
a
just
great
like,
way. We've not heard it. I've
yeah,
not
like,
heard it that way, or have we've not said it that way. A person that's when we talk about bad boys of comedy, or this kind of breed right now. Edgy with no purpose of being edgy is a
yeah,
great way to like look at it and be an observation to be like, yeah, you're right. That's what bugs me about those certain kind of comedians. It's edgy and you have
sure.
no purpose.
Yeah. My friend Jason Brown always makes the point. He's like, I've never been asked to work dirtier. He's like, I've never gotten off stage and be like, oh, that was good, but like, it would have been great if you were filthy.
I have been told before a
Yeah.
booking, because of having it out there that I have worked clean, that I've been asked, yeah, like you said for the cruises, can you send me a dirty clip or can you work dirtier? And I'm
Yeah.
just like, yeah, it's not like a completely different set. It's just I don't filter myself with the ideas that I say with Crowd Worker on my feed, or I, like Clint
Yeah.
said, I'll say shit or I'll say fuck, just like if I'm talking like how I would.
Right. And it's,
Yeah,
if I'm doing a set and they're like, oh, we're looking for like an R-rated show. And it's like, okay, I'll just do my regular set. I might throw in a couple swears, as if I was talking conversationally, but like the material is not going to be particularly dirty. And even
yeah,
the times that they've specifically been like, oh, can you like do a dirtier, like R-rated set? I will just do a regular set. And they're never like, that's not dirty enough. They're just like,
Stop.
they're just saying like, oh, this is like, it'll happen sometimes if it's like, I've done camp shows, and they're like, oh, like if we do a 7:00 one, people are going to bring their kids. That's clean. But then we want to do like, a 9:30, like for the adults. So like, that's going to be like the R-rated one. It's like, okay, got it. But I'll just do my regular set. And they're like, that was great. It's like, yeah, because I do think there are people who go to comedy because they want to hear the comedian say things that they would themselves get in trouble for saying. But I think that's
sure.
a small group of people who don't actually like comedy. They just like slurs. And it's like, well, that's not the audience I'm trying to attract.
Yeah.
you know?
That's an interesting poster
I
for a
think
show.
I think some of it too. I think some of it is overthinking. We're all in comedy, so we're all kind of comedy nerds.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we overanalyze what a crowd is looking for when really what they're looking for is like a night out.
Yeah.
So they're
They just
like,
wanna have a nice time.
I'm gonna go out with my friends and I've never been to a comedy show. Let's go to this club or whatever. I got tickets to this. You want to go? It's gonna be fun. And they're just
Yeah.
there to have
Let's go to
fun.
the Roxy Theater in
And
Minerva, Ohio on Friday, May 16th.
yeah, let's go swerve in between Amish buggies and get to this theater. And
That's a
that's
good segue. We do a new theme song every episode, or we started like
okay.
starting
wow,
like
do
in the
we?
third episode. So
Did you send me a theme song?
yes. Did you not? I sent it to you yesterday, like way in advance. Oh my gosh. Oh, now we look like unprepared
Man,
fools.
what kind of podcast is this that I'm on
A
right
bad
now?
one. You made a mistake. You're wasting your time.
I'll tell you
Yeah.
what, I'm gonna have a
You
talk
shouldn't have
with.
agreed to this.
Do
I'm
you
gonna
need
have a
me to
talk with my
resend it,
people
Glenn?
after this.
No, I got it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So here's the
I
theme
just
song
didn't.
for the Matt
It's
King
not ready
episode.
yet. Hang on. Slow your roll, baby.
Okay.
I gotta download it and then I gotta upload it into Riverside.
After the
It's a
theme song, I want to
It's a
needlessly talk about
complicated system.
if anybody's working on any material, especially Matt. I would love to hear.
Yeah.
Brian, I will absolutely say balls in context on the Daddy-O podcast. In context. That means sports paraphernalia.
Yeah. He's
Sure.
like, so I was juggling the other day and I was using four
Balls.
This is not an advertisement song, but if you want to see the Daddy-O comedy tour, you don't have to wait long. Just go to www.circustrapeze.com/Daddy-O tour for dates, tickets, and more. That's www.circustrapeze.com/Daddy-O tour. Come see us do stand-up comedy, or otherwise the theaters will be empty. We'll be incredibly sad, dejected, and poor. That's www.circustrapeze.com/Daddy-O tour. www.circustrapeze.com/Daddy-O tour. www.circustrapeze.com/Daddy-O tour. This is not an advertisement song.
Wow. I'll tell you what, it's got legs.
That
It's
was
got legs.
not an advertisement song.
It
That
was.
a
It clearly
theme song.
said it at least
Yeah.
2 times that
Yeah.
it wasn't.
Even though it
Not
was
at
called the Adio theme
Yeah,
song.
I think it can be though. It can. We can. I don't know why it felt so strongly about not being an advertisement.
I feel like it was very akin to like those car insurance commercials where like they're sitting in the restaurant and the pirate, like whatever, plays a song. It felt,
Oh,
it
you
felt
mean
like
like
Free
that.
credit
the greatest music
report.com.
from the early 2000s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is anybody
That,
not an advertisement song?
I looked up what happened to that band because I genuinely liked those songs a lot. And it's like,
Yeah.
do they have like a legit album? And I forget the exact answer, but it's no. But it's like, I would listen to that if those guys put out an album, but it
Of
was like studio
20, 30
musicians,
second songs. Yeah.
and it was just like actors lip syncing. So it's like it was never even a real group. And it's like, could they be? Could we get those guys together?
Yeah.
You got
let's
Kaiser.
do
You
that.
got Kaiser Soze. Matt,
FRE, that spells free.
is there anything that you are working on, material wise? Any premises or anything that you haven't cracked yet, or that you just like little nuggets of ideas that you want to share, or possibly work on?
I'm trying to think.
I don't either. If that makes you feel any better, I haven't written a new joke in years.
Yeah,
That's not
well, I
true.
just kind of put a new 5 out there recently, so I'm kind of in
Ooh.
writing recess. But I don't know. I hurt my back really bad this week. Like
Oof.
that's why I'm not down where I do my TikTok lives in my basement where I made like a little studio because it's uncomfortable. And I'm like on muscle relaxers and stuff now because
Ooh,
so
yeah, good on
I
you on
thought
that
there's
cyclobenzaprine kick.
what is it? It's
Extra
Flexeril or
strength
something.
Tylenol.
Yeah, Flexeril, I think,
Oh
is
yeah,
the
I
brand
got
name of cyclobenzaprine.
we got the
Yeah.
Tylenol for arthritis
Yeah.
because I'm
Yeah, old
because I'm
man talk,
37, so of
middle-aged
course I've
dudes
got
talking
that.
about
Was that
pills now.
the Dollar General Tylenol? I thought I
Yep,
saw it quickly. I was looking for. I was like, oh, because I just got Kroger yesterday.
yep,
Going to the
yep.
store.
No Kroger's over here. The Dollar General is what I like to call the mall, the Rittman Mall, because that's what we have here. So
That's fun.
no,
That's a funny observation. Is that like malls have gone by the wayside, but Dollar Generals have like taken over, and it's just like, what if we put all the stores that are in the mall in one smaller location?
I think we talked. I think it was
I
last
would
week we
say
talked about it. My childhood mall is now literally rubble. They tore it down, and it's the coals they left up, but the rest of it
of
level.
course.
And I have to drive by it, and I weirdly get a little for like a dude who hates capitalism. It does make me a little sad to see
Mhm.
my mall torn down.
Nothing is sadder to me than I mean, there is more things sadder. That's not true of what I'm getting ready to say. I'm over dramatizing it. Sadder to me than driving past a place that has like you'll see those pictures of those out of businesses blockbusters where it'll be the shadow of where the logo was. It's not like the sign
Yeah,
hanging, but you know it's a blockbuster because of
Yep.
that. Those I don't care as much about. It's more like the mom and pop places and strip malls and stuff where you'll see
Sure.
like oh that used to be a video store, oh it's
Hmm.
gone, and it's just like I mean, do we need video stores? I don't know.
yep. One of the greatest jobs I've ever had working at
Ugh, I wanted to
working at
work at a video
store.
store.
It
So wait,
was great.
so your back is hurting
Yeah.
and
So I was thinking there's probably a bit somewhere in there where it's like, I'm so athletic that this past week I injured my back while I was sleeping because that's what I did. I woke
Yep.
up I woke up and I was like,
you must be like in my dreams
oh
I must be a gold medalist in something. It's just figuring out my like in real life my real life avatar hasn't figured out that superpower what that sport is, but in my
yeah.
dream I must be really good at it because my back is
I was I must have been dreaming about just being like a lockdown corner and like I was tying up some D1 receiver or something and then moved the wrong way or something. I honestly don't know what happened, but it's a problem.
Yeah.
So,
My back's been messed up my entire adult life, so I sympathize. When you mentioned
mine too.
earlier when you did like your second set and the kids at the church felt bad for you, and one guy was like, "Aw." That the first time I performed in Nebraska, I have a joke about I have an autoimmune disease called ankylosing spondylitis, and when I bring it up on stage, like there's a joke about it, and if I do that joke in New York City, people laugh at the joke. When I did it in Nebraska, it was literally everyone's just like, "Oh, bud." It's like, "Oh no, it's fine.
is this
Like
your make a
it's
Yeah.
wish?
fine."
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it's just
when I
people in
do,
New York don't give a shit about you, and people in Nebraska are
yeah,
nice.
when I do that set about like that I did there, I wrote like a thing to go into it to kind of like wink wink, it's okay, like I know.
Yeah,
So like I'll just tell them like, hey, I did this at a church one time and everybody was extremely nice, but they were like too nice because I spent the whole time talking about how fat I was and they spent the whole time giving me the sad eyes. And then usually I see someone give me the sad eyes, I'm like you, ma'am, right there. I'm like they all kept giving me the same look, like, does he know? And the
yeah.
answer
We're at
is
the John
yes.
Panetta thing.
Yeah,
He talked about it in an interview where he's like, he does so much material about, or did so much material about his size, and he's like, if I don't address it, people in the
yeah,
audience are just gonna be thinking, does this guy know how fat he is? And I have to like acknowledge that, like, yeah, I know. That's why I do so many jokes about my last name being dumb. It's like, well, because if I don't, then they're gonna think it's a stage name and it's a bad stage name. So I have to address
right.
that it is in fact just my bad real name. And
Yeah.
I hear from like a complaint that I've seen about me from other comics is like, he just does dumb name jokes. And it's like, yeah, I would, no one wants me to stop doing them more than me. It's
Yeah.
just,
Right.
I'm not well known enough to stop yet. Like,
And also
when-
because every time you're brought up on stage, like it's not a stage name. So you're like, you want to make sure people know that's like this is a weight that's been thrust upon you. It was not a choice.
I didn't pick this. I did not pick this.
like when we do the shows this weekend in Minerva, Ohio, McKees Rock, Pennsylvania, and Emmaus, Pennsylvania, most of the people, maybe not Emmaus, I'm probably going to know more people there because it's fairly close to where I live. But the other ones, it's like most people in Minerva, McKees Rocks are not going to be that familiar with my work before we get there, you know? So if I don't address that it is my actual name, then they're gonna be like, what a dumb stage name. Why this guy pick a dumb name for himself? Just use your real name, dummy. And it's like, guys, I am. It's
Well,
just
and
dumb.
so if I go after you, if I close out the show on Friday, I want to be introduced to everyone as Superman. And so then I can go on stage and be like, I know 2 comics on the same show that have very interesting real names that are on their birth certificates.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, we haven't I don't think we locked down the order for Minerva or McKees Rock. We talked about it. I called dibs on closing out Emmaus.
Yeah, I
The
figured
other two,
we'd flip a coin or we do rock paper
fight for
scissors.
it on stage.
Oh, okay. Just we'll throw the mic in the middle of the room and we all have to dive at it and see
Yeah.
who gets to it beforehand.
But
So
yeah,
you
those
have-
ones,
I'm,
I don't
As far as I know, I'm the MC, so I'll just do as much time as I want, basically, as well.
Yeah.
do like a type 45.
Just do whatever you want to do.
Kick it off.
Yeah, I'm gonna go up, and if I feel like you guys haven't cleaned up enough, I'll just go up there and do a 45 after you're done.
Oh
That,
my gosh.
That Akron show that I mentioned before, I was opening for a band, and I just asked because it's like a band that I met at an event, and I just we hung out at an APCA college event. Hung out. The band, they're not together anymore. It's called Community Center. They're all great. They're all in other bands now that you should check out. But we happened to be on tour at the same time. I had an off night. Akron was on the way to my next show. So I was like, oh, guys, I'm going to be coming through Akron. I'll come see your show. And I had seen my favorite band, Harvey Danger, in New York once. And John Hodgman came out and like introed them. Like didn't really do a set. He just came out as like, did a couple minutes and then introduced the band. So I was like, oh, if you guys want, like, can I intro you at the show? Like, I'll hype you guys up. And then I get there and there wasn't like a huge turnout. And they're like, we're supposed to do like 40. I asked them, I was like, how long do you want me like the intro to be? And they're like, we're supposed to do 45. We don't really want to do it. So like any amount of time that you could do means less time that we have to do. And that would be great. And it's like, oh, I was expecting you to say like 1 or 2 minutes. And they're like, you want to do 20? It's like, I'll do like 5 to 10. So I ended up doing like an actual set before I brought them up. But it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's fun to just hype people up for, the 12 people that came to that show.
Yeah, I got to do that. So like I went to do and this is gonna sound like a great comedy audience. I got to do a men's breakfast at a church.
Ooh, yeah.
All men in the morning.
Yeah.
Which it actually went pretty well. But they were having this Christian band called Sanctus Real. They're like in the Christian world, they're like a big deal. They were having them that night at the church. And so I was like, I'm gonna go introduce myself to the guys in the band just for I'm always trying to network, So like I walked out there and it turns out I knew their tour manager. He wasn't their tour manager when I met him. I was like, hey dude, what's up? And so I got talking to him and it turns out he loves comedy. And so I was like, listen, I mean, if you ever want someone to warm up the crowd for you or whatever, let me know. And so then he's like, let me go talk to the guys. And he comes back, he's like, you want to do 10 to open the show? I'm like, yes. So that night I got to open for them in front of like 400 people.
Nice.
And it went really well. And they were happy too, because they were like, that's great, because like the whole the whole battle of getting people's guard down and stuff before like
Yeah.
Yeah.
they go up. The people aren't just like,
Yeah, you
you know what I mean?
literally are
So,
you're the bullet eater, and you will be
yeah,
this Friday and Saturday, which we love. I mean, for a multitude of reasons of not having to eat the bullet, but also it's always great because it does. Glenn and I both believe in the MC going up there, warming up the crowd, and doing as best as they can to get them excited. To then the next person. It's like it is like a concert. For like,
yeah,
it's good for the show if there are good people in each slot.
I was
right.
explaining.
That's-
So at the Emmaus show, we have a guest set from I forget if he's 16. He's 15 or 16. A young comedy fan who started doing comedy within the past year, and I've been like helping him. So he's going to do 5 minutes. His name is Kieran. He's very funny. But I asked him. I talked to him the other day, and I was like, "Hey, I'm going to offer this to you. Do not feel like you have to take it, but if you want to host the show." Because that's usually like the first kind of paid work you're going to get offered. And he's done a couple sets on shows, and I was like, you're pretty good at doing 5 minutes already. Like, I'm genuinely very impressed by this kid. But I'm like, if you want the experience of like being the one to host,
sure.
it's tough because you have to be the one to go up first. You are essentially telling a room full of people, hey, shut up. Comedy's happening now. And
Look
then
up here.
like they have to just stop mid-conversation to pay attention to you. And then you're the one who has to like win them over. So your first couple minutes probably aren't going to be that well received. And, you know, it's a
Yeah.
tough spot because you have to get the show going. But I told him, so Ricky and I have been talking about the idea of like, should we do any of this as like a two-hander?
Mm-hmm.
So I think at the Emmaus for sure, I think the plan is you and I are going to come up, do a couple minutes up top. We'll intro Kieran. My friend Tyler Rothrock is going to be doing a guest set that night as well. And I'm like, we'll figure that out. It's, you know, the venue emailed me to be like, oh, we didn't talk about it. Do you need us to like find you a host or whatever? I was like, nope, it's all taken care of. And then I
Yeah.
gave him the lineup, and it's like, oh, now that there's another person, it's like, I don't know who's going to intro Tyler after. Okay, I'll probably just come back out. It's really.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy. Yeah, I don't care.
I think the thing I've probably talked about it before, where like theater, there is this like mystique of like, well, you don't want to see the actors before the show because you want them to like be the characters when they are on stage. I don't think that translates to stand up, but a lot of venues that I've worked at like kind of seem to think that it does, where they're like, comics, you got to be backstage before the show starts. We don't want you like mingling with the audience when they're coming in. It's like, why? I'm not doing a little play. Like, they're coming to see me. It's like the thing of the wedding where like when my wife and I got married, they're like, oh, you guys can't see anybody before. And then I got married almost 20 years ago. And now like when a lot of my friends get married, they're like, oh, that's dumb. We're not doing that. We're going to greet you when you come in. We're excited to see our friends. We want to spend time celebrating with the people that we love. And it's like,
Sure.
yeah, that makes a lot more sense actually than me and my wife have to like hide away in a little room.
Smaller the better. Tiny room, just a
I'm always
closet.
happy to spend time in a little room with my wife, but it's like, well, yeah, you know, we got
Hey.
friends and relatives out there that we don't get to see a lot. Can we go? I want to go talk to Aunt Linda or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's just another one of those preconceived notions where it's like you said, the mystique of it all. It's like, I don't. And a lot of the shows I do, obviously nobody knows who I am. Now I have produced 3 Matt King and Friends shows, not to brag, but
And friends,
but it
not
does.
not acquaintances.
And they are my friends. But
I've
it
been
is
asked to do one of those, and I was like, we got to call it something else.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't know that I want to have my name associated as one of your friends
No,
to be
it
on the
makes me
internet
feel
for the
weird
rest.
because like if I ask someone to do it and then they're like, well, I will, but like I never really thought of us as friends. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, I did. I don't know. It's because I'm weird about. I think I overthink like, am I actually friends with this person? I've talked about it on the show before. with like other comics that I've worked with. It's like, well, I would say we're friends, but like, do they even remember who I am? And it's like, I don't want to assume, you know.
Female
Yeah.
comic on TikTok. I wish I would have clocked her name. It was a funny clip of she's like, I went on this date with this guy who was way out of my league, and she's like, and I know he was way out of my league, not just in my own mind, not just doing that like female thing of like, oh, he's so much better than you, you're a garbage person. She's like, I know that he was way out of my league because I had met him previously 5 other times before he acknowledged meeting me the first time and asked me if I wanted to go out on a date.
That sounds familiar, and I don't remember who it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's popping right now and like on TikTok.
It's also a thing that I do to people.
Yes.
Where it's like, yeah, I know I've done that. Where it's like, oh, I'm just bad at remembering people's names and faces. Like, it's not, you know, because I think I'm too cool for anybody.
Smug
It's
Genie
just
Glenn Tickle.
Smug Genie Glenn Tickle.
Yeah.
It's like when I did that roast battle, and I mentioned to Chris Freed, who was judging it with me, I was like, I don't know a lot of these people. He's like, you know, almost everyone here. It's like I've been on shows with you and them probably a couple of times. It's like, I don't think so.
Well-
It's like, trust me.
What I was getting at is I think it's fun sometimes when people like I walk past them on the sidewalk or walk through the club and they're like, oh hey. And then I'm like, I wonder if they'll even remember when they see me get on stage that like
Yes.
they saw me. You know what I mean? That's fun to me.
There's
But
a guy
I
who's
don't-
done that to me a bunch, and I can't even be like, every time it happens, I do get a little annoyed, but it's like, Glenn, you do this to people too. Every time I meet comedian Tommy Pope, he's like, hey, nice to meet you. I was like, yeah, great to see you again, Tommy. And again, it's not like I'm not calling him out to be like, can you believe this dick
Yeah.
doesn't remember me? I've done this to people. I will continue to do it to people.
Or also
It's
you
just-
saying to
I
him,
love
great
Tommy Pope.
great to see you again is he is like, yes, you were seeing me again because you must have come to one of my other shows before. You have been an audience member and you have seen me.
Yeah.
I'm meeting you for the first time. It's like, no. It's like the other part
We've been
is
on
true,
shows
but
together.
we
have a
yeah.
lot of mutual friends. But like he and I, outside of like, there's comics where it's like, yeah, we're not friends outside of work. You know, it's just like I will run into a few comics like at shows a lot, and it's like, yeah, I'm happy to make small talk. You know, whatever, we can be polite.
Happy to
but I
make
don't-
small talk.
But if they're
Smug
like,
Genie,
oh,
Glenn Tickle, happy to
you
make
wanna
small
come over?
talk.
you want to come over for dinner? No, I
No.
don't think so.
Wait, like your place, like the place where you have a room where you sleep and like you call home? No. You want to go watch a movie? It was like I remember the first time like Glenn and you and I spent the night the same place, which I ended up I think leaving early, and it wasn't because of the weirdness of spending the night with a almost kind of stranger, but it is weird when you've only spent a certain amount of time with someone and then it's just like, okay, well, we did the show, so now we're gonna just hang out and be people. Like,
Yeah. We have
okay.
roommates tonight.
Yeah,
Fine.
we're- yeah.
I'm just gonna go home.
Yeah.
But then we had a beautiful Florida trip that Glenn and I really got to reconnect and find
It
our
was
love
lovely.
for
We
each
talk
other.
about it too much.
We hadn't for a
I
while,
think
but then we brought
This
it up.
weekend will probably replace Florida Talk. On the
We've been
show.
saying that. Florida
I
talk.
think
Nice.
after we have another weekend together, we'll have another thing to talk about. Besides,
But we
like,
don't
"Oh,
get to
remember-"
drive. We don't get to drive in the car together. We have to drive separately.
Yeah.
But we
did
are. I do
think
want to
about-
plan a dumb little walk and
uh,
also go see a movie on Saturday or something.
I did think about trying to. I was like, oh, should I drive? Like, maybe I'll leave my car in McKees Rock and like we'll
Mhm.
drive out to Emmaus and then I'll drive back and then drive home. But it's like, well, no, because then I'm gone like all of Monday unnecessarily.
I do have to stay. The hotel I got through Ignite for it's a Fairfield Inn, so it's a nice hotel, but it is 20 minutes north of Emmaus, and so that
Yeah,
makes my
I
trip
think I know
longer
where
on Monday.
Yeah.
Matt, if you don't know this, a great
Yeah, or
hospitality
listeners.
service or listeners hospitality service if you are a road entertainer called Ignite Hospitality. You can go to their website and put in the date of your show and where it is, and they will work to try to get you a deal for lodging, and you pay them usually like a
Okay.
$30 finder's fee, and you get like a $120 hotel room that's within 20 miles of the show you're going to be doing.
That's a great tip because I'm going to feature in Goshen, Indiana in June,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and I'm making $100 a night, and that's like pretty
Yep.
close to Notre Dame. So I looked at all the lodging, and I'm like, I'm
Oh, yeah.
losing a lot of money on this
Mhm.
trip.
Yep.
We
Yeah,
were,
so Adam
we
Wagner
were,
and
we were
Ignite
talking
Hospitality.
to I don't know if it's the same one, but we were talking to a venue there about doing a Daddy-O tour stop, and it's like I can't make it's too far away. I can't get there for the amount of money they were offering. And it's like I would
Oh,
love
yeah,
to come
yeah.
through, but it's like
We would have to
you know.
chunk it with something else that was considerably more
Yeah.
lucrative. And that's, I mean, what a great problem to have. That's like, oh man,
Right.
we'd love to have you, but like, oh, sorry.
Yeah.
And that's,
But yeah,
Uh,
Ignite has been great.
Yeah.
They shut down for a bit during the pandemic because people weren't touring, but I found out they were back pretty recently. Again, I can't announce. I used them to get I get 3 nights in like a very nice hotel in a city that I will announce in July apparently. But it's like I'm there for 3 nights doing a run of shows, and it's like the big expense on this is going to be the hotel. And then I was like, oh, Ignite. And it's, so I think I pay them like 30 something a night.
a finder's fee.
and
It's always a nice
the
place.
deal is like, you have to leave a nice review on social media is like the trade-off. And it's like, yeah, I've been in like 2 truly horrible hotels in my life. And it's like, even the ones that are like kind of stinky or whatever, it's like, happy to be here. It's like, this is better than sleeping in my car.
I've also for those decisions have been my decisions. It's never like, I remember one time we had a famously.
I want to be clear. The bad hotels have never been through Ignite. I've used
through
them
a book
couple of times.
Or through a venue. I mean, for me, from a venue, like someone, we were at a Motel 6.
Like, no, we'll get you a room. And it's like,
yeah,
actually, can you just give me the $30 or whatever and I'll find a better room?
The hotel was just like, oh man, we're sorry. We're redoing all the toilets on the first floor on the left side of the hallway. So they're sitting outside. And like the rooms, it was awful. It was a Motel 6, but I booked it myself because it's like, well, we just need a bed to sleep for one night. And the Motel 6 was just like, oh man, like I'm not like talking crap about, no pun intended, this hotel that I work at, but like your venue should have put you in a nicer place. I was like, this is all my fault. This is not, I cannot blame them.
I did one when I went out to Minnesota with Tristan. I don't remember. I don't think it was a Motel 6. It was.
Oh, I remember. We mentioned it. Yeah, we mentioned it on the podcast.
And in the morning, it's like, well, I'm going to go take a shower. And they're like, oh, there's no hot water. And I was like, that's like basic. Half the reason to get a hotel is, and I actually, now I think there was just no water. If I remember, I don't think like it turned on at all, or it was just freezing cold. Either one's not good. And it's like, no, it must have not worked. Cause I would like in a pinch, I would have taken a cold shower. I wouldn't have been happy about it, but it's
I did that in New York City first night that I stayed there in this overpriced hotel.
Yeah, but they're like, oh, there's not. So I booked it through hotels.com and I was like, hey, can I get like a partial refund or something for this? Cause like I couldn't shower. I had to like leave and
go to a Planet Fitness.
We'll reach out to the hotel. And like hotels.com has been pretty good over the years of like, if there's a problem, like I don't have to go argue with somebody at the front desk. I can just make them do it, which for me, a conflict averse person is tremendous. But they're like, no one's answering. They won't get back to us. And then eventually they're like, we will give you like hotels.com money since we've not heard back. And I was like,
that's good customer service.
That's all. Yeah. I wasn't looking for like a free night. It's just like, hey, a big reason to stay at a hotel is that you can sleep in a bed and take a shower. And I wasn't able to do one of those things. So can I get like a little bit of this back? But the hotel, they never got in touch with. And then
it's like going to Steak and Shake and they're like, the shake machine's down. And it's just like, well,
right.
50% of the reason why I came here.
Can you just stir one?
I used to take my youth group to it was like a youth convention, and like so I was the Assemblies of God, and the thing about the Assemblies of God is they're incredibly structured. So like it's broken down into networks and areas and all that stuff. And so the Ohio Ministry Network, they had Ohio Youth Ministry. They would put on a youth convention in Columbus at the Greater Columbus Convention Center. And there's all these like nice hotels connected by skywalk. So they
It's a
would
nice
block
convention
out.
center.
Yeah, it is. They would block out rooms in all these nice hotels so you could get good group rates. So I would be taking kids from Tiffin, Ohio, who have never left Seneca County
Mm-hmm.
to Columbus, which meant that I always had to have the talk with them. I'm like, listen, in Tiffin, we laugh at kids that think they're gangsters, okay? But if you see someone that looks like a gangster in Columbus, they are. So I don't have to call your parents and tell them that you got shot in the street. But also, I had to take them to these hotels that are like, we stayed in the Hilton
Mhm.
in downtown Columbus. So, and it was like brand new. So I'm like, okay, guys.
They're living
I
their
thought you've
best,
been here
like
before.
Home Alone 2
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. The one hotel that we stayed in, I can't remember which one it was. There was this mall cop lady who like their entire hotel was filled with teenagers from this convention, which is a nightmare, I'm sure. And there's kids just running up and down the halls and stuff.
Yeah.
And this mall cop lady's losing her mind. And I stepped out into the hallway with one of my adult leaders to discuss where we were going to order pizza from because we have 20 starving kids. And this mall cop lady comes up to me and she's like, "Sir, you need to step back into your room." I'm like, "What?" she's like, "I said get out of the hall." So I was like, "Okay, I'll get out of the hall." And I went down to the front desk. I'm like, "Listen, I don't know what Paula Blart's deal is, but you need to get her
Paula
under control."
Blart.
I'm
Oh,
like,
you did
I'm
it.
a-
You
I'm
nailed
like, I'm a
it.
grown man. I'm a
Paula
grown man, and I don't
Paula
need her
Blart.
telling me to go back in my room.
Yeah.
But it was, yeah. I also took him to a hotel with bed bugs once. That was
Oh no. I've,
That was
ne- I've
cool.
never come
Never.
across them, and
I'm
I
luckily, knock
have
on
a
wood,
legit phobia that I
that
will
is to
one
happen.
day.
Well, the
luckily
amount of
nobody got them or anything because someone discovered them right away. And I went down and I told the guy, I'm like, "I'm not staying here. I need all the money back now." And he's like, "No, we don't have bed bugs." I'm like,
you do. You do.
He's like, "No, we don't." I'm like, "Yeah, I've seen them. You do." And so then he was like trying to rush us out of there. He's like, "Get out." I'm like, "I gotta get my
So
stuff."
I don't take photos of the bed bugs that you
Yeah.
clearly have that you are clearly
Yeah.
aware of. Do you know,
So-
Matt, Billy DeVore, comedian Billy DeVore? Or have you heard of him?
don't.
He was a ex Assemblies of God, or grew up with them as well in Ohio. Not that, I mean, it's kind of like
Okay.
you went to a high school or you grew up in a city. I'm just like, do you know,
Sure.
like, I'm from New Orleans. Like, well, do you know Smokey Joe? Like, well, there's probably a lot of Smokey Joes. I don't know.
Yeah.
But all of my information of Assemblies of God have come from Billy and him talking about it in some of his stand-up. Do you talk about, last thing before we get going, and before you tell everybody your hot TikTok handle so we can go all follow that, do you talk about any bit of your time with the Assemblies of God Church and your stand-up? And if so, is it sometimes a fine line of people who are at church think it's criticizing?
No, I don't really bring it up.
Okay.
Sometimes I mention I was a youth pastor, but
No bits,
don't
no
know.
bits or any stories that come
Not yet.
from that world. Not yet. Okay. Is it something you think you could possibly, once the time and your experience in stand-up grows, that you would maybe dip into? Or are you like in this point in your life like, nah, you know what, I don't feel comfortable because I don't want that perception of being that I'm mocking or making fun of or putting it down or belittling?
I mean, like I've dabbled with a little bit. Like if I'm doing like a show that's billed as Christian, like I'll maybe bring up some of the stories of like, my mom was my Sunday school teacher and
Mhm.
how poorly that went and stuff like that. But it doesn't necessarily translate in like the clubs and bars because people are like, "Why did you go to school on Sunday? What's it like?"
That's
You got a
funny.
weird
You should
homeschool?
just say that when
Yeah.
you do that. Sunday's not a day for school. It's one of the
Yeah.
2 days.
I've had a few where I've done church shows, and like I have a couple jokes where it's like, oh, I don't think this is making fun of, you know, the content of the joke, but like I'm worried that if I do it, so I have the one joke that I've done where it's like I will question if I should do it at a church gig is years ago my older daughter's like, Daddy, do you want to hear my favorite Bible story? And I'm not particularly religious. So I was like, well, I mean, not really, but and she's like, no, you'll like it. It's really funny. And I was like, I don't know. I went to Sunday school. Like
I don't remember there being a lot of yucks.
Particularly hilarious parts of the Bible. And then she's like, no, you like it. It's funny. And then she described the plagues of Egypt. And I was like, sweetie, what about this is funny? And she's like, the river turns red. Isn't that rivers are supposed to be red? And then frogs fall down. Oh, it's great. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess if you like read the illustrated children's Bible, like, and you see a drawing of a bunch of cartoon frogs, it's like,
Fruit Punch River.
Yeah, pretty funny. But it's like, yeah, I don't think I've done it at a church because it's like, well, I don't want you guys thinking I'm making. I would leave out the line where I like point out that I'm not religious, obviously, but because when I talk to people about doing church gigs, I point out it's like, oh yeah, like my kids go to a Catholic school, and it's like I'm not personally religious. I'm not like against it. I'm also a professional comedian, so like I understand what would be expected of me in that context. It is weird to show up to a gig that you did not know was a church gig and find out that it is in fact a church gig.
Like a Valentine's Day show, that
a thing that has happened a weird number of
too many times
through the same booker.
Times. Same booker, same booker.
Like, man, I'll
Glenn
do
and
you gotta let me know. It's
the worst one was when we showed up to a show, and this was a booking that I had made at a winery that we walked into, and there was a bunch of like, think of like bicentennial decorations, like 1976 bicentennial. This winery room is decked out in those, and it's just like, it's not near the 4th of July. This is interesting. It's October. And then we get there, and I had booked just the show through the winery. They were like, we want to do a comedy night. And I was like, great. And I bring 2 other comedians with me. And we get in there, and we're like, this is interesting. And then they're like, we want to introduce you to Governor blah, 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 who's running for re-election. And we're like, what? And the political affiliation didn't match any of our opinions or viewpoints. And we were like, we were gobsmacked. I was like, I don't know what to do at this $100 plated dinner fundraiser for this dude that I subjected these 2 other people. Like, if they'd have said, when we figured that out before the show, like, we don't want to do the show, we don't want to be associated with it, I'd have been like 100%, because I'm not sure what to do right now, because I'm in this weird, like, surreal, like, quantum leap where I jumped into performing at this event. And we did. And like afterwards, they complimented us on some stuff that we made us reassess how we talked about certain things on stage.
We like how white you were.
Yeah, that's basic.
It was cool how white you were.
It was
that
it was
straight white men. You guys did a really good job.
It was Indiana, and one of those comedians was Zach Wycuff, who was a clean comedian, now Dry Bar Special, and he is very religious. He is a church boy. I have been with him though, where I've witnessed, if he's at the beginning of the lineup or even feature, and he brings up church, some people there who are also churchgoers sometimes tighten up because they're not sure where he's going to go with it. And they don't understand that he is authentically a believer as they are. They're like, oh, you're talking about religion in a comedic setting. We do not like these 2 flavors mixing.
The thing about being like clean is I always am like, I never really have to look at who's here and decide, okay, am I going to do the jokes about black people? Because I don't have any of those, you know? So like,
but you don't have any black people or jokes about black people?
Well, I don't have any black people.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That was
No.
good. That
I
was a
also
good
don't-
question, and you
I also
didn't
don't
fall
have
for
any
it.
Yeah,
jokes.
you didn't fall
Yeah.
for it. My very well crafted 10:54 a.m.
Yeah.
Gotcha
But
moment.
yeah. But there is like, so if I'm doing a show that's billed as like overtly Christian, I
Yeah.
do avoid some of my divorce material because
Who
that
books the
tightens
overtly
people up.
Christian comedy tour?
Honestly, those have been at Crackpots
Oh, yeah, that's right. Those are the shows
Yeah.
that you're talking about. Chris
on like a
Kepler.
Sunday night. Yeah. So,
I've
but
enjoyed the audiences, and I haven't been on any of those Christian shows, but
Yeah.
Crackpots in Massillon, Ohio, where we're going to be on Father's Day in June, I think June 15th. I've always enjoyed the people who've come to those shows. It's a nice mix of kind of all the
Yeah.
different kind of audiences that we've brought up
Yep.
just even on this episode.
Because that's part of like doing clean comedy again, is like it's not necessarily just like a list of words. It's like, well, yeah, they don't want to hear jokes about religion. They don't,
Hmm.
and it's like,
Sure.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure
Depending
you
on
can
what
make
it
jokes
is.
about it, but it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, they don't.
well, like I make light of my divorce because it's like, it is what it is, and it is, some of it is funny, but like there have been I've seen some crowds walk in and I'm like, they're not gonna be down
They're
with
not gonna
this.
like this.
Yeah,
Yeah, I have a
So-
joke that about a time I performed at a weed dispensary here in New Jersey, and like it's a clean joke. It just happens to be set at a marijuana dispensary, so it's like, well, I'm not going to do it on Dry Bar because they don't want a joke that acknowledges that
Right.
marijuana dispensaries exist. But it's like it's a clean joke, so that's the one where I
Sure.
will have to like kind of feel out from the audience. It's like, can I get away with this one? And like, I
Does
did one-
anybody smoke? And you're like, jazz cigarettes?
Yeah. Well, I did that the retirement community show the other weekend, and the guy who booked it, he's like, oh, like it's an older audience, like skew cleaner. But during the show, it's like, I don't think these people actually care. So
Yeah.
I like from the stage called him out, and I was like, oh, like you said, be really dirty and talk about drugs a lot, right? And then everybody laughed and was like, can I do one about a plant that's legal here in New Jersey and not everywhere? And everyone immediately is like, yeah. So I was like, well,
Poinsettias,
Yeah.
poinsettias.
that's my out. So like if
Yeah.
at the end of the show, the guy booked it, he's like, hey, I told you to be clean and you talked about jazz cigarettes. It's like, right, but you heard how into the idea everybody was.
They
And
were
it's not
asking me for it.
it's not a dirty it's just
Yeah.
that's where the thing happens. One lady corrected a detail in the story because I say that it is across the street from City Hall or from
How
police
did you handle
headquarters.
that? I've
she's
never
like-
seen Glenn Tickle corrected.
I've realized it. So I say it's across the street from police headquarters. That's the way I said it on the album. Somebody corrected me after the album came out, but I'm so used to saying it, so I still usually say police headquarters. And the lady in the audience goes, "No, it's City Hall." And I was like, "Oh, so fan of NJ Weed."
You've been there.
right?
Yeah.
And she's like, "Yeah, I go every
I
week."
got
It's like,
glaucoma.
oh, yeah. Yeah. One lady stayed for like 20 minutes after the show to talk to me about like different weed strains that
To
she
get
likes. It's like,
directions, yeah.
oh, yeah.
You're
I
like, you
don't-
know way more than I do.
Yeah, I'm not actually like a big weed guy. It's just I did this one show there. I've done 2 shows there, to be fair. But it's like, yeah, I'm not a big drug
This is
guy,
not.
'cause
It being like comedy. We got to get out here. With the comedy being synonymous with like sinning or lascivities, like lascivious acts. Like after doing shows, the amount of people that audience members who've brought up been like, oh, so like, is it pretty wild being a comedian? Like you guys do some drugs like at night, or you go and do this or whatever. Like the last I did a benefit show a couple weeks ago, and we were in Terre Haute, and we were in front of the casino there, and they asked us after the show, like, "Oh, so you guys gonna hit it pretty hard tonight?" You know, it was a 7:00 show, so it's only 9:30. Like, you guys are probably gonna do something wild, go to the casino and do some partying and some gambling. And we're like, we found a Denny's that's like 10 miles away and it's open 24 hours. Like, we're gonna get some breakfast and drink some coffee and talk more about comedy and overanalyze the show we just did.
I'm gonna
Yep.
sit in my hotel room and play Dr. Mario. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
Thank you,
that's-
Matt.
That's a lot of it. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us, and I'm looking forward to the shows this weekend. Where can people find you, and what is that TikTok? What is that hot TikTok handle?
The hot TikTok handle is Matt.KingComedy on TikTok. Matt.KingComedy. So I've gotten the privilege to work with a nonprofit organization called Sad Team Six. That's they're aimed at breaking the stigma around mental health in first
That's a very
responders.
funny name.
Yeah, yeah, and so we do it with like comedy, giving them a place to laugh and stuff like that, but also raising money for resources for mental health crises and people that are there on your worst day. So we did a show at the Canton Palace Theater, and it was awesome. There was over 800 people there, and part of the contract was that we got a copy of our set filmed on 3 cameras in the theater.
Oh, nice.
So I put it out
Nice.
on TikTok as like a mini special. So I have like a 10-minute mini special on my TikTok right now called A Pile of Mulch. So if people want to check that out, Matt.KingComedy.
I love that means nothing, but it also sounds like the perfect title for like a comedy special because of just what it could all mean. A pile of mulch. It sounds like an old like 1963, like you see that on a LP, like a pile of mulch.
Yeah,
I like
that's what. So the guy that put the whole thing on, he's like, I got a lot of feedback, and I kept asking people what their favorite jokes of the night were, and a lot of them said the pile of mulch, and I was like, pile of mulch.
Nice.
That's what we're gonna call it.
What a good
So-
tease before the shows this weekend. Come see and find
Yeah.
out what a pile of mulch means in Matt King's set.
That's right.
Glenn, do you have anything you want to say before we
Come
say
see,
adios, daddios?
Come see us this weekend in
Please,
Friday, Minerva,
please.
Ohio, Saturday, McKees Rock, Pennsylvania.
I have no
and
idea what
Sunday,
tickets are looking like. Please come
None.
see us.
I got one update from the Emmaus, and I would love it if that update was a higher number. But I do think so. That's pretty close to where I live and perform a lot. So I like historically, people kind of buy day of for stuff that
Yeah.
I've done in the Lehigh Valley. So it's like it wasn't. I'm not panicking, but I would love it if they're like, "Oh yeah, it already sold out." That would be a great thing to hear. And the other two, I have no idea.
No idea. No idea what we're
yeah.
stepping into. Matt, do you have any idea?
No.
No. So it's not going to be the
No,
800 like the story you were just like that awesome show.
Well, I do. I have, not to brag, but I've performed at the Roxy before.
Oh, is it a nice is it a nice place?
It is. It's a
What's your
nice
favorite
theater. I
thing
think it's
and your least favorite thing about it?
Well, it's very cool. Like, it's in this like little cute downtown, and there's like
I
a
like it.
Mexican restaurant right
Love
by
it
it.
cute downtown.
And,
Oh yes. Ooh, yes,
I-
yes. Thank you. That will be where I have a margarita before the show.
think-
I hope it's not dry.
Well, no, I think they were letting people bring stuff from the Mexican restaurant to the theater.
Oh hell yeah.
So I
Bring
think
those
I think you're
nachos.
good on it. It's like a 200 seat theater. It's not huge,
Oh,
but
perfect.
it's very cool, and the marquee is awesome outside. And there's
Isn't
like, mural
the
on the front
power
door.
of a marquee with your name on it? Isn't that the simplest pleasure?
It feels good every time.
Yeah,
I know.
It's cool.
I feel so
My name-
stupid. Like
my
every
name
time I
wasn't
take a
on it.
picture. Oh, it's not? Oh, well, hopefully it is this weekend. Hopefully.
Yeah, I won a contest to open for Brad Upton there, so that was
Oh, nice.
that was cool. But probably my least favorite thing about it, but it's also kind of funny, was the green room is actually, if they do it the same way, in the building next door. So you have to walk out through a back alley and in the back door of the theater.
Into it.
When you go
Love
up.
stuff
the
like that.
Emmaus,
So
the green room is behind. It's a movie theater. The green room is like behind it. But if you want to leave
Yeah.
the green room to go use the bathroom or anything, you have to like walk in front of the stage. So it's like there's a side exit. So you just leave, go back around.
Get hassled
Yeah.
for buying a ticket, and you're like, I'm on
Which-
the show.
Yeah.
I'm
it
Clint
does,
Tickle.
it does make it nice though to not wade through the crowd. You can just walk around the building to the front
Yeah.
and get like a pop or something instead of like
Yeah, you don't want to
Okay,
have
I'm
to mix in with the
awkwardly
rabble,
walk
you know?
through here.
I love, but
Right, yeah.
I love that. I love a Scorsese like long tracking shot of like Off the Hook Comedy Club in Naples, Florida. It's the green room is in the back of the restaurant. So you literally have to do the Goodfellas, like zigzag around to get to the bathrooms or the stage or whatever. So I love a good, not super opportunistic green room.
Yeah.
All right. Well, come check us out this weekend.
it's
Matt
cool.
King, thank you for being on the show. We'll possibly have you again after, unless we hate you after these 2 shows, which I'm sure we won't.
No, it's been great chatting with you. I'm looking forward to actually meeting you and doing the shows together.
I was going to say, if you guys are good, maybe I'll buy a ticket in advance. I don't know. Well, we'll see.
It's the Daddy-O Show.
But yeah, thanks for having me.